So, shorter lesson today. I do notice that maybe the writing that I've asked you to do is too much, so I'll cut down on that. I'll only go the main point, but I'll still talk through it. That just means that you're going to rely on listening, okay? So last lesson we went over the idea of discrete numerical data. That was stuff that you counted. So it has to be in whole numbers. I would count how many pets you have. I wouldn't measure that. I would count it and you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? This kind of data we're talking about today is called continuous numerical data. I get it from measuring. So the difference with measuring and this kind of data is it doesn't have to be whole numbers. Do you have to be exactly 160 centimeters tall? You could be anywhere in between, okay? So the first thing you need to be aware of is you need to separate the data into something called a class interval. So instead of showing all the data, you go data between 0 and 5, data between 5 and 10, etc. You need to label it like that. Have you seen these little beaks before? Have you seen these little... Yeah. So that means less than, for example. If it pointed the other way, it would be greater than. If you've got the extra line here, that's less than or equal to. So this top class interval means 0 to less than 5. This next one is 5 to less than 10. So can you get that box down? And then we're going to start collecting data because I believe everyone's here. Hopefully no one's overly sensitive about their height. I'm a short king, so I'm not overly sensitive about that. If you're overly sensitive about it, that's fine. Just tell me how tall you are.
Pitch to damage.
Can you get those class intervals down?
I don't know what's it.
Bricks honey. As much as I can. Honey.
Can you take a sequence? Get your mask. I know how tall I am. I'm 165 centimeters tall, so I'll add that. Get those class intervals out. I'm going to start adding data. I haven't got assigned seating, boys. I can arrange that. Can you leave it until after? I don't stop you from talking about whatever after the lesson, but right now it's my turn. So there should always be 5 to 10 class intervals.
What does that sound like?
These are properly defined. This is what they should look like, okay? There should always be between 5 and 10. So if I've said there should be 5 to 10 class of intervals, is it okay to do 4? No. Would it be okay to do 6?
Probably define what?
Properly defined class intervals. I'm giving you an option here. You're allowed to have 5 to 10 class intervals. So you can have 8, you can have 9, okay? There just has to be more than 5. So I've said that I'm 165. For you taller people, I don't think that ruler is going to be able to... Do you know how tall you are? Do you want to go measure?
We're at 179.
179. Do you remember off the top of your head how tall you are?
No. I need to measure.
You need to measure?
Yep.
Do you know how tall you are? 172. 173. Oh, do you know how tall you are? Same? Oh, yeah. Okay, go on the stomach. I'm just going to lay this on top of you. Can you move forward a little bit? No, this one. Looks like 182. 182 for our mate there. Do you know how tall you are?
Pretty much the same height as this.
It's a bit smaller, so do 180.
You don't get to decide. Connor, can you step up? Why am I showing you how to collect data? Because you're going to be collecting data for your assignment. I'm going to just lay this. Don't, hey, stop. Look at him. Look at him cheating.
What are you talking about, sir?
You're taller than me. You don't need
5'7".
Yeah, like 177. 177, 177. Can you stand up? I don't think it's going to be able to measure. 177, 177, 177. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't. We're just going to go with what he said. 189, 177, 189. You.
So that's
Yeah, no,
My old ones.
these are women's shoes.
I can't even get women's shoes.
180. 177.
6.
177, 189.
You're 177. He just said 180.
Can I do this table, please?
Dennis. Where is it?
Like, so I'm 6'2" instead of 10. You're not 180. That's what he said. You arguing with the tape? Yep. Huh.
Yeah, 170.
I can't have to.
While you're waiting, can you get down the data that we're getting so you can see how to do the graphs afterwards?
You lie! You say you
6'3".
6'3". You say you're 6'3".
It's
When
on
have
the
I ever said I
accent.
was 6'3"?
You've always said you're 6'3", which
It's on the accent. I'm right here.
Don't lie, you've always said that.
With shoes on, I'm almost 6'3".
One.
I don't think I'm.
Alright, wait. Do you have a ruler? These shoes might
Do you have a ballpark guess? Because our ruler's not going to be able to measure you.
That's what I did. I just guessed.
No, but I don't want to say his name. It's going to be recorded.
These are certain people's names.
Well, I'll measure the sole. And see how much.
I'll give you a guess. Each taller than
The
Ricky.
soles are usually an inch thick
Right,
unless
that's
they do
So
something.
I'd be 6'3".
Ricky said he's 189.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I don't
You got fucking shoes on, you weren't 6'3".
Can you stop with the language, please? I'm going to have to mute that. That's a waste of my time.
So if Mark's
190.
over 10, we
Just
measure
do
it.
that.
Rick, stand on it. Rick, stand on it. Stand on it.
Yeah.
Stand on it.
Yeah, stand on
190.
it.
The very tip of that just needs to touch the ground for it to be straight.
So I'm going to report your YouTube channel. Swear.
I'm going to mute it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Try.
I'm not stepping on it, so I'm not even lifting it yet.
Hurry up, you're wasting my time.
How do you do this there? Up there? You're not even stepping on it, guys.
You sit down, you can do it after.
Get your liar! Yeah, you're a liar! You're pretty cool, you fucking struggling. Drugs you got.
And that's without shoes. So with shoes, the bag is, and I'll be 6'3" with shoes on.
It's not going to be super accurate.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, you moving 6'3"?
Do you want me to go?
I just put 190.
190. Yeah. For me. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I'm not.
Alright,
6'3", 6'4".
That's not accurate.
It can't be.
You're all going to be collecting data from each other in the assignment.
Oh, because I'm taller than that. Because I'm taller
So
than
I'll go through
Yeah.
this process.
So is Ricky, and I was like, oh, he's probably a bit taller than Ricky.
So we're going to say 190 Rick. You're still down. Sam, how tall are you?
180.
How tall is Connor?
I'm taller than you.
77.
Same as that.
143.
167.
What?
143.
So what that, well, Sir put 190 for me, so.
And then the last bit.
Ricky's taller than you. 180.
What?
Ricky's taller than you.
Like same height again.
Blair, how tall are you?
No, I just don't want to put down 190.
We can't. Yeah, he's,
We're like the exact same height.
yeah. That's what the fucking photographer said last night.
So I'm like,
Alright, last four. Come.
3 centimeters.
I went for really don't.
If you're not 6 feet.
163, 163, almost done.
What's
163.
190. The ones.
I'm just a worker, baby. I'm a ballerina, baby. That's what it is.
Stop. It's recorded, and I'm going to use that video against you if we're going to have a parent-teacher interview like that. I'm trying to teach you, right? Is that reasonable? Are you going to be able to explain that to you? Explain yourself?
How far this graph goes down, so I'm just going to go to the bottom of my page.
Kind of sitting out.
$150, $163, $170.
150.
What was the last one what did I say for yours? Did you just... All right, look at the numbers. Which is the biggest? What's the biggest number here?
190.
190. What's the smallest? Shush. What's the smallest? Okay, we need to come up with class intervals. We need to come up with spreads here that's going to have 5 to 10 groups. What groupings can I do to make sure that there's 5 to 10 groups if I'm going from 150 to 190? Can I go up in tens? Can I go from 150 to 160, 160, 170, 170, 180, 180, 190? How many groups would that be? 4. Just remember though, he's right on the line, 190. So it would be 4, it would be just 5. So we could go with that, yeah? So 150 to 160. 160 to 170, 170 to 180, 180. The reason why it's 5, because this one is 180 to less than 190, right? And so the last one is 190 to 200. How do we fill this out? You tally it up. 165, we had one in the 160, 170, 179, 173, 173, 182, 182, 177, 189, 180, 174, so up to 5, 171, 169, 190, only one in that band. 169, 154, 167, 167, 176, 150, 163, and 159. That is our class distribution. Can you get that table down? We can ignore the bottom there. So frequency of 3 at the top, 6, 7. You guys at the back as well. If I'm hassling him, can you be quiet as well? 4 and 1. That is our class distribution. So we've got quite a peak in the middle. We've got less on either side, but we'll see what kind of skew we have when we draw it up. So really the key things we're learning about today, continuous numerical data, stuff that we measure. I don't count how tall you are. I measure it, so it's continuous. When I've got continuous data, I need to spread it out into these groups called class intervals. There needs to be 5 to 10 of them. We just met 5 for this. The last thing, that's all that is covered today, is the idea of a frequency histogram. So last lesson, was there gaps in our graph last time? You weren't here. Can someone tell me? Look in your notes.
Yeah.
There was gaps. That's a column graph. Literally the only difference when you're doing this kind of data no gaps. Why are there no gaps? Because our data goes from 150 up to 160, and then it starts immediately from 160 to 170. There's no spaces between it. So if I wanted to draw this, I can skip that part. Let's draw this for our class. Copy. So the example I'd like you to do is our class's data here. Draw a frequency histogram for this data. I've got a graph here ready to go. What's the lowest number that we need to have fit on there? What's the smallest class interval number? 150. And then the smallest data number is 1. So 150 goes along that dot. We went up to 160, 170, 180, 190, up to 200. You might remember in the last lesson, the data went between the bars. Here, the data is on the lines separating them. Okay? How many people did we have between 150 and 160? 3 frequencies. So we're going to draw a line up to there, 3. How many people did we have 160 to 170? What's the frequency from 160 to 170? 6. So there's going to have to be a line across there. 7. So one more. 4. And 1. That's you. What's the difference between this and last lesson's graph? There are no gaps. Why?
No, it's 2, sir.
Huh?
It's just 2 on the 190 because
No, he didn't reach it.
didn't he? What we're saying hard.
We just guessed yours.
Right.
B, what's the modal class? Do you know what median and... Have you heard median, mean and mode before?
Yeah.
What's the mode? Okay, you've heard it before. The mode is the most common.
Yeah.
Which is the most common group that happened in our maths room? 150 to 160, 160 170, or 170 180? 170 to 180. What's the modal class? 170 centimeters to 180 centimeters is the modal class. What's the shape of that distribution? Is it symmetrical? Is there a peak on the left side or is the peak on the right side? It's a bit iffy actually. Where do you reckon there's more data? On the left side or on the right side? You told me. Say that. Where's there a bigger chunk of the on the left? Yeah. So you could say that this is slightly positively skewed. That is continuous numerical data and how you draw a graph on it. No gaps. And you need to divide your data into these interval things here. All right. What I'll do is no gaps. Your work for today, so you can start talking. You seem to be obsessed with that today. 13B, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll stop the recording.